Okay, we're going to do a very quick creativity workshop now, a creative thinking workshop. I have one simple belief when it comes to creativity. I don't believe in talent. I don't believe in talent. I don't believe that creativity has anything to do with talent. I've worked with people who are apparently unbelievably talented, and they couldn't produce any ideas. I've worked with people who were apparently stupid, and they produced amazing ideas. I believe that creativity is about behavior. It's about how you behave towards each other in the room. How you behave socially. It's about your social behavior. Status, like we looked at earlier. Let's play a game. I'll get you into pairs again, as before. This is a game called Yes and. The situation is that one of you is a ticket seller in a train station. You're selling tickets to the train. The other one is a customer. And the game starts when the customer says, "Hello, I'd like a ticket, please." And the ticket seller says something, anything, which begins with the two words, yes and. If you're going to do it in Hebrew, you can say ken ve. Yes and is about showing the other person that you've heard what they said, and you're going to build something on top of it, add something on top of it, instead of contradicting it or arguing. Okay? So, hello, I'd like a ticket, please. Yes and. You might say, for example, yes and we're having a 2-for-1 offer today. Or you might say, yes, and you look like a cool guy. You can sit up front with the driver. The customer then replies with something, anything, which begins with the two words, yes, and. Yes, and in fact, the driver's my cousin, so why don't you come and join us? It doesn't matter what. And the ticket seller then replies with something beginning with yes, and. Every line of dialogue in the conversation begins with yes, and. Okay? And just see where it goes. I'll stop you after about a minute. So, hello, I'd like a ticket, please. Yes, and, yes, and, yes, and. See what happens. Okay, if you'd just like to stop for a second, I'm going to modify it now. Continue the same conversation. Go back to the same conversation from where you finished. Okay, so continue it, except this time you change the vocabulary. No longer say yes and. This time, every line of dialogue starts with yes, but. Okay? Continue the conversation. Yes, but, yes, but, yes, but. Okay, let's stop there before you beat each other up. So, hands up who would say that yes, but produced an argument. Did it produce an argument? Yeah. It's interesting because I never told you to have an argument. The instruction was not argue. The instruction was just to do with vocabulary. And yes, but automatically produces an argument. Did you find that the relationship between the characters you were playing became hostile with yes, but? No. It usually does. Yes, but has the effect of destroying our imagination, destroying the other person's imagination, killing the idea that we're discussing. Like a civilian in a battle, in a war zone, the idea gets killed in the crossfire of this battle, and it's a battle for social status. That's what yes, but is. It's a way of saying I'm high status, you're low status, and you better remember that. Yes and is the opposite. Yes and gives status to the other person. Yes and says, hey, you know, you're not such an idiot. Yes and pushes you both forwards into the future. It forces things to happen. It forces action. The best marketing says yes and to the audience. The worst marketing, which is most marketing, says yes but to the audience. Say, well, you thought something about our product, but you're wrong. It's much better to have an insight, a psychological insight, about what the audience wants and say yes and to that insight. Say yes and to your colleagues at work, especially in brainstorms, which is about pushing ideas forward into the unknown. Say yes and to your market as much as you possibly can. Say it to your bosses, say it to your subordinates, say it to your suppliers, your agencies especially. Say it to your agencies. If you're crazier than them, then they'll start behaving a little bit less crazy themselves, because they'll try and make you sane again. And try to avoid yes but wherever possible. Most importantly, don't say yes but to your own imagination. We are our own worst enemy. We have an idea and we say yes but, and we kill our own idea and nothing happens with it. If only we could learn how to say yes and to ourselves, then we could become more powerful people. The good news for you is that nobody says yes and to themselves. So if you start saying yes and to your own imagination, you're going to become an extremely effective marketing person. Let's go straight into another game. This game is called Action, Detail, Emotion. I'd like, if possible, I'd like you four on the front to help me with this game, okay? It's very simple. Just stay where you are. You're my audience. You're my listeners, okay? I'm going to tell a story that's never been told before, and you're going to help me to tell it. So first of all, I'd like you to give me a subject for a story that you'd like me to tell, and then I'll explain how you're going to help me. Mothers-in-law. Oh, lovely. And another unrelated subject, unrelated to mothers-in-law. Golf. Mothers-in-law and golf. This is a story about mothers-in-law and golf. The way you're going to help me is this. I'm going to start telling the story straight away. At any point in time, any one of the four of you can shout out action if you want me to push the action forward and make something happen. If you want one of the characters to have an emotional relationship to something or an emotional reaction to something, you just shout emotion. And if you want me to go into a little bit more detail about something, some aspect of the story, just shout detail, okay? Any one of you can shout it out anytime you like. You can shout these things as often as you want. It's entirely, I'm just basically going to try and respond to what it is that you tell me you want, okay? So I'll start the story. It was the sunniest day of the year, and I was on my favorite golf course with my wife. I was teaching her golf. I was so proud because this was the one thing that I loved most in life, and it competed with her. So she said to me, I'm going to come and play golf with you, and we can build a proper relationship together on the golf course. It was the most beautiful golf course you've ever seen in your life. As soon as we got there, she started praising the flowers, the scenery, everything. Anyway, I picked up a golf ball, and I went whack. It went straight into a sand trap. So I ran over to the sand trap, and you know what? As I ran over to the sand trap, I saw two kids crying in the sand trap. They were building sandcastles in the sand trap, but they were crying. And I asked them, why are you crying? And one of them said, well, a golf ball just hit me in the face. Well, it was a bright green golf ball. It was my favorite specific type of golf ball. It hit him in the face, and his friend picked it up because he thought it was a lime. So he ate it, and of course he broke his teeth. So I had two crying kids. My wife came running over, and she said, listen, I know these kids. I'm their teacher. We've got to get the hell out of here. So we turned around and we ran. And as we ran and we got to the clubhouse, suddenly we saw my wife's mother waiting for us in the clubhouse with hatred in her eyes. And so I grabbed my golf club and I said, you're on my territory now. Okay, so that's action, detail, emotion. That's how it works. Thank you very much. Now it's your turn. Turn to your partner. One of you is the storyteller, one of you is the listener. The listener gives the storyteller a subject that they want to hear a story about. Storyteller, just immediately launch into a story. Don't think about it, just be obvious. I'll give you a tip. Start positive and start with a relationship between two people. Don't make it about one person because you'll run out of ideas. Okay, make it positive, make it involve at least two people. And listener, stay alert to the opportunities to say action, detail, emotion, and make it easy for the storyteller to give you what you want. Okay? I'm going to stop you after 3 minutes, and you'll switch around and do it the other way around. Okay, give it a go. Surprisingly easy, isn't it? It's easier than you think it's going to be. If I said tell a story, you'd be in a panic. It's like staring on the edge of a cliff. But as soon as you have the interactivity, as soon as you have the engagement with the listener who's feeding back to you actively about what they want, what actually happens is not just your story, it's their story as well. They're helping you to create that story. And instead of retreating into your head, isolating yourself and saying, am I talented or not, I don't know, your whole focus is on the other person. Your whole focus is on engaging with them, giving them what they want, and your talent comes out naturally. This is a process that you need to go through as far as possible in every brainstorm you have. If you want to have a look at, for example, the behavior chain of how to get your audience going from sitting there frustrated at their desk and needing your product and not knowing about it to buying your product and being a loyal customer, tell this story. Get your team to tell this story. Tell that sequence as an action, detail, emotion story. You'll get so much human insight about the needs of your individual members of your market. You'll also learn a few things along the way about why stories are structured in the way they are, why action, detail, and emotion are so important in marketing and advertising, as well as in storytelling in Hollywood and on stage. Let's have a look at action quickly. When I was a strategic planner in advertising agencies, my job was to write the creative briefs, and we had brand character. This is one of the sections on the brief. And it used to take us about 6 months to agree what the brand character should be, and I could never understand why, until I started studying theater and acting, and I discovered that when we were doing brand character, all of our brand character descriptions were about adjectives: dynamic, innovative, trustworthy, confident. You can't answer the phone in a dynamic, innovative, trustworthy, and confident way. So if you can't do that, you can't really expect a copywriter to bring it alive on a banner. I discovered in the theater that you can only perform an action, a verb. You can't perform an adjective. Actors don't walk on stage and say, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Hamlet. I am angry, confused, and paranoid. Thank you, good night. And directors don't shout description. They shout action, because that's what theater is all about. That's what drama is all about. People being in states of emotional change, and in order to do that, you have to perform an action to them. We discover what a character is not by what they say about themselves, especially with adjectives, but about what they do. We witness what they do, and we draw our conclusions. If you want your brand to be cool, identify what cool people do and do it. Don't say you're cool. If you want to be friendly, identify what friends do and do it. If you want to be confident, identify what confident people do and do those things. If you want to be professional, identify what professional people do and do those things. Just don't say we're friendly, confident, and professional. Thank you, good night. Because that's like the idiot Hamlet actor. Let's have a quick look at detail. Hands up, how many of you are yellow and have 4 fingers? Anybody? No, okay. Hands up who likes The Simpsons? Yeah, quite a few of you. The Simpsons is not demographically accurate, right? The Simpsons is not an accurate demographic reflection of you. What Homer Simpson does, though, instead of pretending to be us, he gives us the emotional truth of what it really means to be us. Homer is vulnerable and emotionally, he's emotionally open. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He shows us so many dysfunctionalities about what it means to be human, and the reason we love him, the reason we laugh, is because we say, oh, I do that too. And he makes it safe for us to be us. Now, this is because he doesn't look anything like us, and the more different from us he is, the more safe it is for us to say we are emotionally similar to Homer. If he looked like me, I'd be terrified. I'd reject The Simpsons completely. So if you have bosses who say, well, no, I mean, everybody we put in any kind of marketing communications has to look exactly like the real target audience so they know we're targeting them, just ask them, have you seen Star Wars? That's not even set on Earth. That's not demographically accurate. Casablanca's in black and white, and it's set in Morocco before any of us were born. That's not demographically accurate. Casablanca's recently voted in a poll as the most popular piece of drama of all time. Shakespeare wrote hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and his plays are still relevant today because of the emotional truth. Find that emotional truth, and demographic accuracy is irrelevant. You have the opportunity to be very detailed about characters that have got nothing to do with your target audience. And the more detail you put into something, the more truthful it looks, the more vivid it is, the more the audience believes that it's actually happening. Mike Myers created a character called Vague Man just for fun. He said, hi, I'm Vague Man. I live in a vague house in a vague town. I drive a vague car to work every day in a vague office where I do a vague job, and I have a vague wife and 2 vague kids. And he did this on Saturday Night Live, and nobody remembered it. And he did it to prove to his acting friends that vagueness doesn't work. You have to be absolutely specific and detailed in your descriptions of things, and then they don't have to be real life. And emotion. All drama is about states of emotional change. We go to the theater to see people pretending to be emotionally changed by each other. Why? Because that's the one thing we can't get in life. We don't go to the theater to watch arguments or conflicts. People say stories about conflict. That's not true. Well, it's kind of true, but it's not really very useful. We can get an argument at home. We don't need to buy tickets to see an argument, especially in Israel. What we don't get at home and what we don't get at work is people giving in, people yielding, people being emotionally changed by others. That's why we have to buy tickets to see it happening in the theater. And if you can give the audience some kind of emotional change, if you can let them change you, even better. You make them feel like they're in charge. You make them feel like they've got the status, and that's not a relationship they're going to walk away from anytime soon. So action, detail, emotion opens up the imagination. It'll open up your team's imagination. It'll open up yours, and it'll give you profound insights about the real dynamics of the relationship that you want to have with your target audience. I'm going to give you one last game. This is a game which is all about how, let's be honest, what's the most terrifying thing at work? The most terrifying thing at work is having a stupid idea and looking stupid, losing our social status. Nobody wants to have bad ideas. I'm sure you've all heard of this concept of thinking outside the box. Yeah. What's inside the box? What's inside the box is good ideas and okay ideas. There are two types of ideas that are nowhere near the box. Amazing ideas and terrible ideas. Those ideas are outside of the box. They live in the same territory. And the easy way to get into that territory is to stop looking for great ideas, look for bad ideas, just for fun. So I'd like you to take 1 minute, and that's all, 1 minute. You're going to have to talk really fast. Shouldn't be too hard. Turn to your partner, tell them what your latest marketing problem is that you're working on, and together have 5 bad ideas for how to solve that problem. When I say bad, I mean ideas that would get you fired, ideas that would get somebody killed, ideas that would be illegal, ideas that would be cheesy, unoriginal, ideas that we'd even be embarrassed to say in public. Okay? Just for fun. Just for fun. Have 5 really terrible, awful, nasty, falsch ma'affen, whatever it is. Just the worst ideas in the world, just for fun. 1 minute, go. You don't want to stop having bad ideas, do you? So much more fun than having good ideas. Hands up if you think maybe, just maybe, you might have found something that might be developed into a good idea. Maybe by accident, you had something that could be the basis of a good idea. Or an insight that could lead to a good idea. 1 more minute and you'll start having great ideas, so I have to stop you before you stop having fun. When you try to have bad ideas, you introduce a sense of play and a sense of permission. As soon as you have a sense of permission, the atmosphere in the room automatically becomes informal. You automatically start looking for potential instead of limitations. Your brain automatically gets into a yes-and state instead of a yes-but state. And before you know it, you get ambushed with really, really good ideas. I was doing a workshop in Tel Aviv for a PR agency, and we'd spent all morning doing yes-and games, and then we did a bad ideas game. And this woman said, "Oh, I've got such a bad idea. This is great. This is such a bad idea." And she was really excited about her terrible idea. She told us her bad idea, and her boss said, "Hey, that's not a bad idea. That's a good idea." And she said, "Don't be negative." She'd understood by then that when you're aiming for perfection, you're always going to fail. You're always going to condemn yourself to mediocrity and failure if you aim for perfection. Aim for badness just for fun, and you open up your mind. And then when you've got these terrible ideas and you start turning them into reasonably good ideas, that's when you can start saying yes and with your colleagues, with your suppliers. That's when you can start looking at what you really want to do, which is have great ideas. You have to give yourself permission to play, to be stupid, to be childish. So use action, detail, emotion, say yes and a lot. Give people their status, and maybe, just maybe, one day, one of your colleagues, one of your suppliers, one of your clients, one of your customers, maybe even a complete stranger will turn around to you and say, "Thank you for giving me back my dreams," because that's why we're all here. Thank you very much.